Hello, good minds. I want to welcome you to our class. This is a course for year 5 students and it is titled Management Information System. I remain your facilitator, Mr. Brimo MO Excel, and today I'll be picking it up from Module 3. Though we've discussed this, I would just want to briefly elucidate on each and every one of the subtopics we addressed in our last class. So let's go straight to business. Now, just do me a favor. Give me what you owe me, which is your maximum concentration. Give it to me 100%. Okay? And I believe we'll achieve success together. Now, I'll be going straight to the topic of the day, which is titled Introduction to Information Processing. Remember, this course is for year 5 students, and the course is titled Management Information System. So before we talk about information processing, we need to understand the concept of information and the concept of processing. This will help us to get a perfect grasp of what information processing is all about. Okay, so let's go straight to business. So when we talk about information, we are talking about data that has been processed or subjected to a form of logical or electronic process. Okay, we'll call that information. Okay, any form of data that has been processed electronically or subjected to a logical or processing, we'll call it information. It makes a complete sense. Okay, it has been converted from one form to another using an electronic device. We'll call that information. All right, so that's for that. Let's look at what processing is. Processing talks about your ability to convert from one stage to another. Okay, the act of converting data to information, we'll call that processing. Okay, and something is responsible for that. All right, remember, I'm converting data to information. Okay, that information is what we call information processing. Okay, the information has been processed. All right, I have data. All right, subject the data to some form of logical processing. Then the end result gives me what? An information. That means the end result of data processing is called information. The information processing are the stages of processing your data. Okay, so therefore information processing talks about the collection, the organization, the storage, the retrieval, and even the dissemination of information using both manual and electronic system. The system you use is inconsequential. It can be manual, it can be what? Electronic. What matters is that you are collecting information, you are organizing information, you're storing information, you are retrieving and simultaneously disseminating information, all right, both either manually or electronically. Okay, now it is actually a fundamental concept in computer science and also in ICT, as it outlines how data is transformed into meaningful information that can be used, please take note of this, that can be used for what we call decision making and for problem solving. The essence of collecting information, the essence of processing information, the essence of organizing information, the essence of retrieving and disseminating information is to solve a particular problem and to make a perfect, objective, and constructive decision. That is the essence of information processing. I'm going to take that again. I said information processing refers to the collection, the organization, the storage, the retrieval, and dissemination of information using both manual and electronic word system. Please do not forget this. That will take us to the key concept in information processing. The first thing we need to understand is data and information. And coincidentally, I've actually explained data and information. Data talks about raw facts. That is unorganized fact that lacks what? Context. So when data is unorganized or it is raw, we call it data. When we have an item or a text, a number, a symbol that is raw, that is unorganized, okay, that lacks context, we call it data. So data is a raw, unorganized fact that lack what? Context. Example are numbers, text, and even symbols. Do not forget that. What about information? I've said that earlier. Data that has been processed or subjected to a logical word processing, we'll call that information. That is to say, information is processed and organized data that is meaningful and useful. Remember, the essence of information is to make decision. You understand? Don't forget that. And to solve problem. I need this record to make a decision. I need this record to solve a particular problem. We'll call that information. Then number two, still on the key concept in information processing. The first one I just explained is data and information. I've told you what data is, that is a raw fact that needs to be processed. I've told you what information is a processed and organized data that is meaningful and what and useful. That takes us to the next, which is stages of information processing. Now, this is very imperative. I think I've explained this times that number in our class, so I'm not going to spend much time on it. We have the input. Okay, you cannot process data if you didn't input data using an input device. Okay, when I'm talking about input, I mean typing, scanning, or recording. You understand? Capturing data from the environment, we call that input. All right, the process of entering data into the computer system for effective processing, we'll call that input, using an input device like the keyboard, the mouse, the joystick, the light pen, etc. Do not forget that. Then we have processing. When we talk about processing, the first thing that comes to mind is the central processing unit that converts data to information. Processing is the transformation process, transforming raw data into meaningful information through what we call, it can be calculations, it could be analysis, it could even be by formatting. You understand that? We call that processing. I'm converting the raw fact into useful information or context. Then the next is storage. Now, when you're done doing your processing, you need to store. Okay, saving processed data or information for future use. You understand? We use storage devices like the flash drive, the hard disk drive, otherwise known as the HDD or the hard drive. We have the SSD, the solid state drive. Do not forget that. We have the solid state drive, we have the flash drive, we have the memory card, and so on. All these are examples of storage devices. Okay, then the next is output. When you're done processing your information, it needs to be outputted either as hard copy or soft copy. Okay, if the information is still on your gadget, it's called soft copy, but the moment you print it out on paper or any other solid material, it can be called what? Hard copy. Okay, so that's for output, displaying the processed data in a usable format. We'll call that output. Okay, for example, report, graph, or even audio, they are all output. Then finally we have the feedback. Feedback talks about evaluating the output and making necessary adjustments to improve the processing. When you're done with your result, you evaluate your result to see if there's anything that needs to be rectified. You understand? You evaluate the output, you make necessary adjustment, okay, and you improve the processing. Okay, we'll call that feedback. That takes us to number 3, methods of information processing. Okay, I've already addressed this. We have the manual information processing and we have the electronic information. From the word manual, that means no sign, no form of electronic gadget is employed here. Everything is through paperwork. You understand? Performed without the use of any form of electronic devices or gadget. We call that manual information processing. We have the filing of document and even using of ledgers. All this falls under manual information processing. Then we have the next, which is electronic information processing. In terms of electronic, I don't need to say that, you know what it means. Okay, you must use your electronic gadgets. You understand? It's just the opposite of the manual information processing. You're using your computer, your devices, your different electronic mediums and gadgets to do your data processing or information processing. We'll call this electronic information processing. It utilizes computers and software to handle data quickly and accurately. You're using computer, you're using good hardware and software combined together with human effort to get results quickly. Okay, we'll call that what? Electronic what? Information processing. That takes us to our next subtopic. I want to believe you're listening. Do not forget to like and to share. Okay, it's very important, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please ensure you do that. Okay, so let's look at the components of information processing system. This is very important. We have the hardware, we have the software, we have the peopleware, and we have the data. Talking about the computer hardware, hardware talks about the physical devices, the electromechanical components you can see and touch, like the keyboard, the mouse, the joystick, those physical parts you can see and touch. Okay, though hardware is classified into 2. We have the internal hardware and we have the external hardware. Time will not permit me to go into that, but just know that any physical devices, any physical or electromechanical component of the computer system you can see and touch is known as computer hardware. Okay, then we have the software. Software talks about the programs, the set of instructions, and the applications applications that process and manage these your data. Okay, that's what we call software. So software talks about either the programs, the applications, or the set of instructions that are needed to manage or to process data. You understand? We call that software. Now, the people where it talks about the users and the professionals, you and I, the computer user, computer professionals, okay, we are the people where that make use of the computer. We do the input, we do the processing, and we do the analysis of data. We are known as the people where then finally we have the last one, number 4, which is data. Data talks about the raw materials that are processed into useful what? Information. Examples of information processing: we have the banking system, we have the retail system, we even have the educational system. Like in the banking system, now what do we have? We have the automatic processing of transactions, account details, and even statement of account. Then for the retail system, we have the POS. That's this the use of point of sales system for billing and inventory management. Then we have the educational system. We have managing student records and grading, attendance using software like Microsoft Excel or specialized education platform, which we call LMS. Okay, LMS. Then we have importance of information processing. Why is information processing so important? Okay, we have it for efficiency, for accuracy, for speed, for decision making, and even for communication. In terms of efficiency, now it automates repetitive tasks, saving time and what and effort. Why wouldn't I want to do that? In terms of accuracy, to reduce human error in data handling, human error is completely minimized, okay, to the barest minimum. Then we have speed. Under seconds, I have my data processes large amounts of data quickly. Then we have decision making, provide insight through what we call data analysis and report. Okay, then communication, facilitate effective sharing of what information, and do not forget decision making and problem solving. That's the essence, okay, of that. Then we have application in daily life. When do we use information processing? Online shopping and payment, healthcare systems, managing patients record, traffic monitoring, and even what is it called, control systems. You understand? In terms of traffic monitoring and control systems, then we have these meteorologists, we call them weather forecasters, for forecasting for weather using what we call collected data. So I'm going to stop here for this. This will be a part 1 of our video. Thank you and God bless you. Do not forget to like and to share. I remain your facilitator, Primo Mo Excel. Thank you. See you in the next video.